Hi everybody, and welcome to a very wet and windy Peak District. In today's video I'm going to be answering questions that were sent in to me on my Instagram. Those questions are going to include why I first got into off-camera flash, the biggest piece of advice I'll give to any wedding photographer, and whether I prefer to drink Pepsi or Coke. So let's crack on. Oh, honestly, the weather here is crazy. The forecast today was good, which is why I've come out today, but it's been raining, and I think we had a little bit of snow a minute ago. It's so changeable when you come out to a place like this. I'm in the Peak District. It's a beautiful part of the country. The landscapes are amazing. The problem is, it's almost like a microclimate, and it constantly changes the weather. Well, anyway, let's go, because I always prefer to do these videos outside rather than being at home. Just a bit more interesting to come out somewhere new. So the first question that I received was a really good one, and it's of my YouTube videos, which is my favourite. And I really like that question because it's something that I haven't really considered in the past. And when I was thinking about how to answer this on the drive up before, I couldn't think of just one video. I've done over 100 videos now, so it's very hard to choose just one. So I thought I'm going to cheat and answer with 3. And the first one is the video that I'm most proud of in terms of it giving information to other photographers. I feel is really useful, and that is this video in which I demonstrate how and why using modifiers on speed lights is so useful to off-camera flash photographs. And I'm really proud of this video because not only did I do it at home, which wasn't easy in such a small space during lockdown, but I also feel that it demonstrates very well just why it is so important to use modifiers. And basically that's all down to controlling the spill of the light. So yeah, if you haven't seen that one, I'd really recommend you do watch that, because I do genuinely feel that that is really useful information. The second video I'm going to choose is a more recent one, and it's a Halloween shoot that I did with my friend Grace. And the reason that I love this one is just because it was so much fun to do, because Grace had crazy makeup on. There was no real pressure to get anything that I thought was sort of aesthetically really beautiful, obviously because it's a Halloween shoot, but also I loved editing this video as well. I love putting on all the effects, all the spooky music. So yeah, I would definitely say that one is up there as being one of my favourites as well. And the last one I'm going to choose, and it was really difficult because I've done a few videos where I've met up with my friends, often with Beth, with Demi, and really enjoyed going out and just doing shoots purely for fun and filming the behind the scenes of those shoots. But I'm going to choose this one, which is a shoot I did this summer with my friend Beth, purely because this was the first shoot that I'd done after lockdown. So it's one of the first times that I was able to go out with my camera, meet up with a friend and just take some shots purely for fun with no pressure, and I really loved it. I mean, the photographs were almost secondary to the experience of being outside again with my camera. So when I look back, this is a video that has a really nice feeling to it. I've really enjoyed just being outside again. So they're the 3 that I'm going to choose. Hopefully you don't mind too much that I cheated in that answer. Now the next question is a massive question. It is, what is the biggest piece of advice that you will give to any wedding photographer? That is such a big question because obviously there's so much to learn when it comes to wedding photography, both from the shooting side and from the business side. But if I was to think of anything, it would be more business related, and it would be 2 words, and that is show less. And it's one of the consistent pieces of advice that I've heard on all the workshops that I've been on, and when I've taken that advice into my own business, I really do feel as though it has had a really positive effect on my business. And what I mean by showing less is that the more photographs that you show of your work, you're almost diluting your best photographs. So for example, if we go on a wedding and we rank all the photographs that we take on that wedding day out of 10, hopefully we're going to get some 8s, 9s, even maybe the odd 10 out of 10. But you're also going to have the majority, it's just the way it goes, the majority of your photographs are probably going to be 5s out of 10, 6 out of 10s. And I say that's just the way it is. But what you don't then want to do is show those 5, 6 out of 10, because all that's doing is detracting from your absolute best work. So I feel as though too many photographers photographers, and I used to be exactly like this, they feel as though they have to show all of their work for a wedding day. For example, with a blog post, you might feel as though you have to show getting ready photographs, you have to show detail shots, you have to show ceremony shots, you have to show group shots, you have to show speeches, first dance, dancing, everything. And while I used to feel that as well, I then realised after going on workshops with some of the photographers I really look up to, and they all had this consistent message: you don't need to do that, especially if you don't have a shot of one of those particular parts of the day that is really up there. So for example, if you do a blog post and you don't have any getting ready shots, but everything else is really strong, the bride and groom won't look at the blog post and think Neil's no good at taking getting ready shots. They'll just assume that if I did take any, that they're going to be the equal standard to the rest of the blog post, because the rest of the shots that I'm showing are of a quality that is up there. So you can really improve the perception of your work by showing less of your work. So yeah, that would definitely be my advice. I hope that makes sense. Just don't feel as though you have to show everything. And remember that in this day and age, we don't have the attention of future bride and grooms for very long when they look at our Instagram or our website. You might only have them for a couple of minutes. So whatever they land on, you want to try and make sure that that is some of your best work. And you can do that by making sure that it's only your best work that you're showing. So that's my advice: show less. I'm just sheltering down here because it is so windy and I'm worried it's going to start affecting the mic, so I'm going to hide behind this wall. Next question is, why did you first get into using off-camera flash, and what is your first off-camera flash photograph? So it's going back a long time. I can't remember exactly when I first started using off-camera flash. I think it would have been around 2010, 2011, so it's quite a while ago now. And the reason was because when I was just playing around at home and experimenting, I just really liked the fact that what I was looking at in the back of the camera when I used off-camera flash was very different to what my eye was seeing. And I realised quite quickly that that could make photographs, in my opinion, much more effective, have much more impact, but also stand out much more. Now, off-camera flash now is quite a widely used technique, obviously. You know, most photographers are aware of off-camera flash and many use it within their work. But back in 2010, 2011, it was very new, and I wasn't really aware of anybody else who was using it at that time. So when I started using it, it gave me a real advantage, I feel, from a business point of view, because it helped me to stand apart from other photographers. So that was the reason I first started using it. And I can't remember the first shot I took with it at a wedding. I don't think I can anyway, but certainly this was one of the first. And although I can't remember if that was the first, it was certainly amongst the first off-camera flash photographs that I ever took. And it was one that I was quite proud of at the time. I mean, it's extremely simplistic, obviously, but I say back then, you have to remember that it wasn't really a done thing, anywhere near as much as it was now anyway, and that would have been taken with, I think, pocket whizzers back then. And then as time went on, I started to practice more and more with off-camera flash, to a point where I felt as though it really did give me an edge in terms of standing out in quite a crowded and increasingly crowded marketplace. And I still do believe that off-camera flash can do that now. It's just that you have to be better at off-camera flash, because lots of photographers do use off-camera flash, so you have to really up your game in order to still stand out. But that's where things like MagMod help so much, because there's a difference between an off-camera flash photograph and a good off-camera flash photograph, and the difference really is down to how well you control the spill and the power of the light, and that is where MagMod really helps. And I still believe that it gives you that advantage in what is now a very crowded marketplace. So I hope that answers the question. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut this video a little bit shorter than I was planning, because me and my drone have just had a little bit of a disagreement and it decided to cut me quite bad on the finger. I'm going to answer a couple more questions, and I think it's best if I go and put a plaster on this. But I did want to answer this next one because it's a really interesting question and I really want to answer it. And that is, what is the highest ISO I will shoot at? Now, the reason I wanted to answer this question is because it hits on something that I think think is quite important to speak about, and that is that the only people who worry about noise and grain in photographs are us, photographers. If the photograph is good, if the moment in the photograph is good, no bride and groom is ever going to say, oh, I really like that photograph, it's a shame it's a bit noisy, or oh, that beautiful moment, it brings back so many memories, it's a shame it's a bit grainy. That never happens. That never ever happens. So that begs the question, why do we as photographers worry about ISO? So the answer is the highest ISO that I will shoot at is whatever I need to shoot at in order to get a good exposure. So I have no issue whatsoever with going up to 3200, 6400 ISO if that makes the exposure correct, and if that means that I can capture the moment. As I say, it's just something that I think is a real shame that we all worry about, because we really shouldn't, especially with modern day cameras. No camera that's been made, no professional quality camera that's been made sorry, my finger's bleeding, in the past, say 5 years, is not going to give you good enough quality to be able to shoot at those sort of ISOs. So honestly, my advice is shoot at the ISO that you need to shoot at in order to get the correct exposure. And if that happens to be 6400 or even higher, so be it. Remember, the most important thing is not the grain, it's not how clean the photograph is, it's the moment. So concentrate on getting the moment right and forget about the ISO. It's only holding you back. That's the reason I wanted to answer this question, because it's something that I get asked a lot, and I just feel as though we as a collective group as wedding photographers need to get over worrying about noise and grain and things like that. So yeah, hope that answers the question. So unfortunately, because it's getting very cold, it's going to be dark soon, but more so because I must admit my finger's pretty sore from where the drone had a go at me, I'm going to finish this video now. Unfortunately, that does mean I've not had a chance to answer all the questions that I was planning on, so apologies for that, but I will make another one of these videos in the future and I'll answer the questions that I've not got round to in this video in that one. So as always, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I'd really appreciate it if you could please leave a like on the video and consider subscribing to my channel for more videos like this in the future. Thank you very much again for watching, and I will see you next time. Right, I'm going to go and get a plaster.